let's get right into our great show. Let me introduce you to our guest for tonight, winner of Australia's Got Talent, just a wonderful guitarist, wonderful man, and a real learner and teacher on guitar as well. So would you welcome Joe Robinson?
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Steve. Good to be here.
So glad that you're able to be here. Let's get your mic a little bit closer to.
Okay.
There you go. Hopefully that'll work. There you go.
All right.
So glad that you're here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
It was been, I looked back through the notes and it was 2017 the last time you were here. So a couple of years back, and you've been around the world since then.
Yep.
And have been doing all kinds of amazing things. Can you start us off with a song?
Absolutely.
What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play a track called Royal Flush,
Wonderful.
which is my traditional warm-up opening piece. All right. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, for some of those, some of our viewers that may not be familiar with your story, talk a little bit about how you got started. You're from Temagog in New South Wales in Australia.
Yep. I grew up in quite a rural area. Australia is a beautiful country. It's a very large country. It's almost the size of the United States geographically, and I was kind of in the middle of Sydney and Brisbane, so on the kind of mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia. And I got my first guitar when I was 6 or 7 years old, but I didn't really learn how to play it until I was about 10, and I learned to play on a little 3/4 size nylon string guitar.
Yeah.
And
Did you come from a musical family?
My parents played music. Yeah, my mom played piano and drums, and my dad played some banjo and guitar and Earl Scruggs style banjo.
Yeah.
So I grew up around a lot of music, and I started playing the piano before the guitar, and I just could not sit still. long enough to play the piano. But the guitar, I could take it to school. I could take it, up in the back paddock and play for the cows.
Yeah.
So the guitar really just became my passion. And, I joined a band when I was 11 years old. And before I knew it, I was playing at music festivals, and I was just addicted to performing. And, fast forward a few years, I was on Australia's Got Talent when I was 16.
Now, when did you, because you met Tommy Emmanuel before that, right?
Yeah. The first time I met Tommy, I was 11, and I never forget what he said to me. He said, "You're like a gorilla." And I said, "I'm sorry." And he said, "You're like this little kid, but you've got these big, long arms with big hands, perfect for guitar playing." So,
So you didn't just see him; you met him. You went up.
yeah.
Did you play for him at that time, or
I didn't play for him, but I did play for Phil, Tommy's brother, Phil
Tommy's
Emmanuel.
brother? Yeah, yeah.
And in the town I grew up, their old bass player,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Haid, he lived there, and heard me play and kind of put me in touch with Phil,
Mm-hmm.
who had a reputation as just encouraging a lot of young musicians. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to this music festival, a Tamworth Country Music Festival, a popular festival in Australia, and I met Phil, and he was so encouraging. He was like, most 11-year-olds are listening to some Limp Bizkit crap,
Mm-hmm.
and here you are playing Eric Johnson, Cliffs of Dover, and
Yeah.
Jerry Reed songs, and Chet Atkins, and Phil introduced me to Tommy at that same time. So that was my first kind of exposure to those two, and I'll never forget hearing them play on stage. It was just so powerful. It was just two guys, Tommy on acoustic and Phil on electric, and I was so uncomfortable because I didn't know what they were doing, and I just had to figure it out. So I became obsessed with doing that.
It's so important in those really early formative years to have a couple of encouraging voices and a couple of people actually doing it that you can look at and go, that's what I want. That's what I want to do, learn how to do. That's what I want to figure out how to do.
Yeah, and, as I've kind of, I've been living in Nashville for 10 years now, playing and working as a musician.
When did you move to Nashville?
2010, when I was 18 years old.
So you won Australia's Got Talent when you were 17.
Yep.
And then pretty quickly after they closed out the finale, you were in Nashville.
Yeah, I was on the plane as soon as I could. Winning that show opened a lot of doors for me, and for me to originally get a visa to work and live in the United States, that's a challenging thing, and having kind of won that show, that really helped me get a foot in the door, so to speak. And so I came over to Nashville. And
by yourself? Did anybody come over with you?
I came alone.
Wow.
When I was first visiting, I dragged my mom along. And this is such a friendly town. So people are so nice. She saw that I was around good people, and so she felt comfortable with me. And she knew I was, responsible and whatnot.
Yeah. And
for the most part.
And when you initially got here, you stayed with Gina. Is that right, Gina Mendello?
Yeah.
A lot of famous guitarists have stayed in Gina Mendello's basement got their start.
In fact,
there.
if you go to my YouTube channel, I got a notification the other day that it was 11 years ago I posted a YouTube video in Gina's guest room.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You can see that video. There's like a blue bookshelf in the background, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say, it's important to have mentors when you're younger. And I've come to really appreciate the fact that I had two of the best people to emulate musically I could ask for.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your technique and your style. What I so appreciate about what you do is you bring kind of the Tommy Emmanuel fingerstyle and that sort of using a thumb pick. You bring that, but you also kind of bring a contemporary sensibility to it, a pop sensibility to it, almost, John Mayer-ish at times with some of your songwriting and vocal, and I think it's so fresh to take that style out of the Merle Travis genre and put it in more of a contemporary pop thing. Tell us a little bit about your technique. How did you learn to do what you do?
Well, I've always been fascinated with the idea of being kind of an autonomous musician. So I can be a one-man self-contained unit. And so I want to make use of my voice and my ability to tell stories and my ability to play bass lines and melodies and chords. That's what I always I was first drawn to with like Tommy's way of playing. Like Blue Moon was one of the first things I figured out, where he'd take the bass line and then add the chords. And then like the backbeat. And then the melody. And get a little more jazzy with it. So the thank you all very much. So yeah, the bass line, melody, chords, kind of playing all those separate parts on the guitar has always been a fascinating thing. I just love figuring out and arranging songs like that. And I was playing a lot of like solo guitar concerts when I was a teenager. Basically going around anywhere they'd let me on stage, I would be selling my CDs, playing all my fast licks. And I was doing like 90-minute solo guitar shows, and I realized that I wanted to sing as well. So that's when I started to write songs more and kind of combine that with the guitar techniques that I love.
Right. Let's talk about your gear, because I know we're going to have a lot of questions about your gear and things. As you out there have questions, please go ahead and type them into the chat. If you can, use all caps. That makes it a little bit easier for us to find a question amidst all the chatter that's going on. We realize you're not shouting at us, but that helps us to see. Talk us through your gear, and then we'll get to a couple of questions.
Okay.
What are you running through today?
So I start with the guitar. This is a Maton guitar. This is made in the Maton Custom Shop. And this model is called the JR Personal. It's made with Tasmanian myrtle back and sides, which is really beautiful wood.
And they're an Australian maker.
Yeah, they're down in Australia. And it's a spruce top, rosewood fingerboard, and I use pretty large frets and running through Laboga cables into just a tuner, a Boss tuner and a Boss loop pedal that I use sometimes. Into my AER Alpha amp, which is so great. It's so light, and it fits under the plane seat when I have fly dates. And I'm running out of that into a Shure DI, and that's really my simple acoustic rig. Whenever I'm playing acoustic these days, this is what I'm using. I play electric guitar a lot, and that's a whole other bag of worms. But this is my acoustic rig, and I'm really happy with it.
Now on the Maton guitar, is that just stock how that model would come, or have you had special things done to it?
This is stock. This is, I mean, it was made by hand in the Maton Custom Shop by Andy Allen. And we're working on kind of a definitive JR Personal model. But there's a few of these floating about. And it's kind of a unique combination of these woods with the cutaway, the 808 shape. So it's kind of quite a deep body, but it's a small body, and it has a really beautiful mid-range. And when I plug into a PA system, it sounds just consistently really, really great.
Right.
So it's really a workhorse guitar.
What about dealing with feedback? Do you have problems with that? Or?
I really don't. Sometimes if I run the mic too hot and I get too greedy on stage, I'll have to dial the mic back a little bit.
Combination mic and pickup, sort of under saddle pickup there?
Yeah. And I run the guitar on the Tommy Emmanuel settings, which is 100% on everything. So literally you can see tone, everything's mid-range is kind of in the middle. But sometimes I dial back the mic if I'm through a particularly large PA. But I use this feedback buster because oftentimes I'm playing on a stage and the subs are under the stage,
Yeah.
and I like the guitar to have a lot of bottom end so I can get that percussive
Yeah.
kind of thing going, and so that allows that bottom end to be kind of controlled. So
Yeah. And what you are hearing on the stream tonight is a direct line right out of the amp. So there's no mics involved, and it sounds amazing. I think you would agree. It gets a very natural sign of, even though it's a direct, it gets a very acoustic sort of sound. And the combination of those Maitons and the AERs is the magic.
it's a good combo.
Magic sauce for that. Okay, let's get to a couple of questions. Heavy is saying, who are some of your biggest influences?
I would say Tommy and Phil Emanuel, Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, Django Reinhardt.
What about on electric?
On electric, Ry Cooder, Eric Clapton, Rory Gallagher, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck, Eric Johnson, Robin Ford, Larry Carlton. A lot of great Nashville guys, Jack Pearson and Brent Mason, and I could go on and on.
Yeah.
So many
and
great players.
you've played with some of these folks. I know you've worked with Robin Ford. Is that right? Tell us about that. He was on a show about 2 months ago. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. We did a tour with an ensemble called the Guitar Army, which stay tuned because we're doing more dates and more things soon. The first version of Guitar Army was Robin Ford, Leroy Parnell, and myself.
Yep.
And we did a bunch of tour dates, and there's a video on YouTube you can search if you want to hear us all playing together. And it was so much fun being around those guys and being on stage with them. I feel like I was sparring with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman.
The
like
greats there.
The greatest sound they had, and they were real encouraging of me, and it was just a great experience. And the current lineup of Guitar Army features John Jorgensen, who's an unbelievable musician, and Leroy and myself.
He's based out of Nashville too, isn't he, John Jorgensen?
Yeah, he lives kind of between here and California.
Okay.
And it's so much fun playing with those guys. So.
Yeah. Amazing. Lee Candiotti is saying, what kind of thumb pick are you using? That looks like just a regular, typical National, isn't it?
It's a Dunlop Medium.
Oh, Dunlop Medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are thumb picks I've always used, the white ones and the kind of tortoiseshell colored ones. They all fit a bit different. I usually go to a store. In fact, I was in Groons a few weeks ago and I tried on every single one and bought about 5 of them. So don't go here if you want ones, if you got a thumb shape like mine. But yeah, I usually just find a few that I like and they work well for me.
Good. But on electric, do you play with a flat pick on electric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually use a little red Jazz 3 pick here.
Those Dunlop ones.
On electric guitar.
Yeah. Cool. John Daly is saying, is that a scalloped fretboard?
It's not.
It is not.
But the frets are an interesting combination. It's kind of like it was described to me as halfway between like a Gibson jumbo fret and a Martin tall fret. So it's quite a big fret. Joe Glazer's shop here in Nashville put them in this guitar, and apparently Joe ordered them as a custom order. If anyone wants to know exactly what they are, you can message me on my Facebook page or comment on a video, and I'll try and make a note. But I really love them, and it does allow me to kind of play with quite a soft touch. And I do use a heavier high E string. I use a 14 on top.
Okay.
So it's like a set of 12s with a 14 and quite a low action. So it's not a scalloped fretboard, but the frets are quite tall and large.
Tell us a little bit about practicing and how you approach learning a piece or just your daily practice routine.
Well, my practice routine when I was kind of developing my techniques, like when I was a teenager, was I used to wake up at 4 a.m. And I did this last month, actually. I woke up at 4 a.m. every day for a month, and I love doing that so much. I love practicing when no one's going to call me.
Yeah.
And I used to wake up and I'd have a chart on my wall, and I'm a kind of organized, disciplined person for the most part, and I would kind of have 15-minute blocks of different things. So I'd have like 15 minutes of just like right hand picking exercises, like just trying to get that really smooth. And then I'd have 15 minutes of practicing like jazz chords, and 15 minutes of learning an arrangement, and 15 minutes of trying to write something, and 15 minutes of playing electric guitar, and 15 minutes of just practicing my vibrato. I think that's a really important thing to practice. And I would just, I'd record myself. I'd practice with a metronome really slowly, and I'd always practice in front of a mirror because I like the ability to look out at the audience when I'm playing. I think as guitarists we get kind of so used to staring at our hands that we kind of lose the ability physically to just look up. And I think that's really important if you're going to be performing. So practice in front of a mirror, kind of really try and kind of cross-train with all those different things that you want to learn. That's what I've found to be the most effective.
Yeah. What are some exercises that you have found particularly helpful for various things, whether it be picking or hand stretches or whatever?
And with hand stretches, I feel like...
Because you've got pretty big hands. I mean,
yeah,
your hands are significantly larger than mine. Yeah.
This one's my big hand. Is it? It really is bigger from stretching.
Very helpful for guitar playing.
Yeah, I do these stretches. I feel like before a gig, I don't really need to warm up that much. Like, I'm not one of these guys that needs to warm up for hours, but I do need to stretch always. I don't go on stage or even pick up a guitar really without stretching a little bit. So I do these ones and these ones. I do about 10 seconds of each, and these ones.
And where are you pushing your thumb? Just back towards your arm?
Yeah, just pushing it back so you feel it, the kind of warmth, that warm stretching feeling. And
any particular playing exercise that you have found really helpful?
Yeah. With a thumb pick, one thing I'll do is I'll just do this.
So explain what you're doing there and slow it down.
Sounds horrible, but all it is just, playing first finger on the D string there, first fret, second finger on the second fret, G string, and then reversing it, moving it up a fret. Just trying to get things even. Another really great exercise is just simply to take like a C chord and go to an F chord and just practice going like this. Because I think when a lot of people play fingerstyle guitar, you can learn the piece, like if you learn Freight Train. But after doing that a lot, practicing that a lot, kind of incorporating more of that into the melody. So that's a big thing. Thank you all. That's a big kind of thing that I think I really like to talk about with regards to fingerstyle guitar.
Yeah. And now I notice you're not playing with nails. You don't have nails.
No, I don't use nails. I just use the pads of my fingers.
Yeah. Another thing I've heard you speak on that was so wonderful is talking about your use of dynamics and learning a song and practicing the dynamics within a song. Even like what you were just playing there, the first version was rather flat, two-dimensional, and then along with the technical things that came out, you had the dynamic range of the different parts, and suddenly it opened up.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to work on with fingerstyle guitar. And the way I practice that, I call it dynamic independence. It's kind of like if you're a drummer, you know, you don't want every drum to be the same dynamic. You want to practice playing a groove and then have the kick drum really soft, then practice having the snare really soft and the kick drum loud. So what I would do is I would take a song like Windy and Warm, for example. And I'd play it as loud as I can. So I'd play it. So, you know, you kind of digging in, trying to make every note clean, but playing it kind of loud and abrasively. And then do the exact same thing, but play it as softly as you can. And still make every note clean. It's quite difficult to do. And then you can do a combination.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, the dynamic ranges when you play, it's something as guitar players we don't think about nearly enough. It's really, you can only get, especially on acoustic, so loud. I mean, there's a limit. You just can't get any louder than that. So if you want dynamic range, a lot of it is beneath you, is in the quiet. So if you can kind of start to build the quiet end where you're comfortable doing that, and suddenly your playing will have a whole lot more dynamic range to it. I remember we did a live lesson with Earl Clue, and he was brilliant. But, I mean, he was sitting as close as I am to you, and I could barely hear him. I mean, it was just so soft. And I remember thinking, gosh, he sounds like he's kind of having an off night. And he wasn't playing real well and stuff like that. I went back and listened to the recording. It was impeccable. It was glorious. It was just so, he was so comfortable in that lower end of the spectrum. And it was all there. It was just down there. So we forget that as guitar players. We try and get louder when there's only so loud that we can get.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the challenging things with fingerstyle guitars is the left hand.
Yeah.
Getting everything to you know, be articulated and fretted clearly. And the tendency is, when we play louder, we'll have a stronger left hand, but when we play softer, our left hand gets softer. So I think, you know, you really want to find that sweet spot on your left hand where you're never straining, never tense, but you're always fretting the notes clearly and making everything nice and nice and clean. And then with the right hand, you can dig in and pull back, and really just, you know, if you need to get their attention, you can dig in a little bit. And if you want more finesse, Earl Clue has such a beautiful touch. I think you know, that the touch of a player is really, Chet had such a great way of playing a simple melody. And all my favorite players have a great touch. Jeff Beck, the way he never uses a pick. Derek Trucks, all these guys.
You know, oftentimes you're tempted to think that it's in the pedal. If I could only get the pedal that Stevie Ray Vaughan had, then I could get it. If I could only get the cable or the pick right. And so much of it is the touch of the instrument. I mean, Jack Pearson can pick up any guitar, and it sounds like Jack Pearson after 3 notes. You know, it has to do with the touch of the instrument. Fascinating. All right, well, let's give you a break. Let's give some stuff away. We haven't done that yet. Let's give away. You've got a new project.
I do.
Do you have one handy?
I absolutely do. Let me grab one.
While Joe is grabbing one, let me give a couple of announcements while he is getting that fixed up. We have our, Joe's got his website at joerobinson.com if you want to keep up with his tour schedule, if you want to keep up with his new music, Facebook, he's got a YouTube channel, the whole bit, and please take advantage of that. Lots of great stuff on there. We are having our Guitar Gathering conference is coming up. Guitar Gathering 2019 is coming up June 12th through the 15th. We've already got quite a few folks registered for that. There is still room for more if you're interested. We're having Phil Kagi, legendary fingerstyle guitarist Russ Barenberg is going to be there as well. Bluegrass, kind of Americana, flat picking. We've got Candy Rat Records recording artist Van Larkins is going to be there with us as well. Gosh, who am I forgetting? Johnny Hyland. Johnny Hyland and his band is going to be there. So it's June 12th through the 15th. There's workshops, there's master classes. Joe was part of it last year. It is a wonderful time. If you're looking to really improve on your instrument, you know, you have to get around players that are going to inspire you and learn some new things. So if you're interested in dropping everything in your life and coming here to Music City, I can guarantee you 4 days of incredible guitar fun. Get all the information at guitargathering2019.com. There's still about 3 weeks before the conference starts, and it is going to be a whale of a great time. It's always a super time. So that is our summer conference. Now we also have our fall fingerstyle retreat, which is, I believe, October 31st through November 2nd is our fall fingerstyle retreat. This year's guest is going to be Don Ross, an amazing fingerstyle guitarist, and he's going to be there as well. I think we're going to try and coax Van Larkins to be there with us as well. And I even have been talking with, I don't even know if I should announce it. It's not official, so don't take it too. But I've been talking with Ethan Case about being here as well. So amazing time. It is a smaller, more intimate event. It's already 2/3 filled, so there's only about 7 or 8 slots left. But if you're interested in coming and sitting in a lodge and being 5 feet away from some incredible fingerstyle guitarists and just having them talk and play, and it's great. We all stay there. We all eat there. It's a wonderful place. It's at the peak time of autumn here in Nashville. It is a great event. So if you're interested, check out our fingerstyle Fall Fingerstyle Retreat 2. Our wonderful moderators are putting up the links for all of that stuff as well. So, all right. This past month, we have had our I try and do a monthly sale. This past month's monthly sale was on some Steve Vai resources, and we've extended that through tonight. So if you're interested in getting 3 great resources from Steve Vai, I know we're in a kind of an acoustic vein right now, but the 3 resources we had from him was his guitar workout book. He, like Joe, has a very specific regimen of how he progressed in his learning and his individual practice workouts. So that has all been documented and put a book, I think Guitar World kind of put a book around it, and so that book is part of that. The second thing is a bunch of play-alongs, 8 of his top songs, kind of play-along tracks, all of his solos notated out, tab, single note notation, things like that. Then the last one is he's got a music theory book. Music Theory for Guitarists by Steve Vai. So it's a fantastic resource. We tried to gather the 3 resources that I thought would be the best. If you're interested, we're going to keep that up through tonight. So after tonight, I'm going to take the sale down and we're going to go on to something else. So if you're interested, though, the guys will put up the link for that. Or you can go to guitargathering.com, look at our store there, and it'll be in the resource of the month. Okay, that's enough of me blathering on. Tell us about your new project here, and then we'll give one of these things away.
Absolutely. Well, this is my new album, Undertones. Mm-hmm. It came out in March, just a few weeks ago, mm-hmm. and I'm really proud of the album. You know, I'm touring all year to support it. Mm-hmm. You can go to my website to see all my tour dates. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the album's available at joerobinson.com. You can buy it on vinyl or CD, mm-hmm. and you can listen to it, you know, on iTunes and all those places. And
yeah. I was listening to it on the way in.
Well, you're cool.
This afternoon. Great songs, just beautiful.
Thank you.
Insightful songwriting, and it was great. Great. And did I read this morning that it's your birthday this week? Yeah. This weekend on the 25th?
It is on the 25th.
Hey.
It's again us this week. Thank you.
And how old are you going to be?
I'm going to be 28.
Going to be 28.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing a career that you've had up to this point, and so excited about your future ahead with all that stuff. Let's give some stuff away. Let's give away the CD first. This is Joe's CD. We're going to put, oh, you've already got them up there. Okay, great. We're going to give away, oh, good, that's a good one. Mark Colder 1. You have just won this CD. Mark, send us your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com. We will get Joe to autograph it before you do. Mailing address, what you won, things like that, and we'll get it out to you. Fantastic. Can you play us another tune?
Absolutely.
What are you going to play for us?
Well, can I sing? Will that pick up on the microphone?
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
I'm going to play a song called I Let the Guitar Do the Talking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is almost a true story. Not quite. I saw her from across the room, and I could not look away. But I knew that all too soon I'd get on the stage and play. She was paying me no mind, just laughing with her friends. But I knew I had to make my move, or I might never see her again. So I let the guitar do the talking, 'cause it knew just what to say. With a smooth melody and the bass a-walking, she started walking my way. I drew her close to me with the harmony. She began to dance. I let the guitar do the talking. I knew it was my only chance. She was standing by the bandstand when I played my last song. She said, if you can show me how, I'd love to play along. There's a beautiful Martin at my place, she said, vintage 1942. And I got a feeling we could make some music if you could help me to get it in tune. So I let the guitar do the talking, 'cause it knew just what to say. With a smooth melody and the bass a-walking, things started going my way. I drew her close to me with the harmony, and our hands fell right into place. I let the guitar do the talking. She loved everything that it had to say. I let the guitar do the talking, and it said a sweet goodbye. I wish that I could stay and play, but I'm leaving town tonight. Another show on down the road, and it all begins again. I let the guitar do the talking. Another town, another friend. I saw her from across the room, and I could not look away. But I knew that all too soon I'd get on the stage and play. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Had a couple of questions. Lee is asking, Joe, many of your original tunes have great voice leading. What kind of theory and practice things do you do to develop the voice leading on original chord melody tunes?
That's a really interesting question. Well, for one thing, I think if I'm playing the key of C, for example, I feel like it's so valuable for me to know that scale all over the guitar. So I know the C scale everywhere. So that if I'm playing in the key of C, for example, I know I can go play the scale within that chord. I also like to practice scales in thirds. So I'll play the C scale. And you know, if I'm in E flat major, to me it's the same principle. You know, I just know where my, you know, favorite notes are within that scale. And if I'm playing like a groove, like a so that's all just really playing the scale over the chords.
Right.
And to me, that's kind of the way I think about voice leading.
And it's so important to practice the groove, like you were talking about as well, because so many players they'll do the bass line and the upper stuff, but they'll kind of lose the groove in the midst of that. How do you focus on keeping that? Well, I don't know how to better explain it, but the groove rather than just.
It's honestly the most difficult element to me.
Yeah.
Of playing as a solo musician is having a good groove and not. I mean, I don't want to speed up all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, the first trip I came to Nashville was to meet Tommy Emmanuel, and Tommy sat me down and said, "You need to work on your timing, and you need to write songs with better melodies." That was the advice he gave me. And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get my metronome out and practice." And he said, "That's a good idea, good thing to do." So I think practicing with a metronome is a really great thing to do. I think the best thing of all is to play with a great drummer. You know, I mean, there are great musicians all over the world, and even in Temagod, where I grew up, there was a few really good drummers that I grew up playing with, and learning how to work with other musicians and really groove as an ensemble can really help you even when you're a soloist. So for me, that's really important. You know, playing songs really slowly is so important. You know, a lot of people, when they learn a difficult song, you'll ask them to slow it down and they'll really struggle. But I practice really slowly, and it helps me.
That's a really key to learning the song completely, is being able to play it at different tempos.
Yeah, because, you know, when I'm on stage, I want to be able to just relax and not think about the notes I got to play and just let my hands, I mean, it's kind of muscle memory, and all I'm doing is just grooving with the music and deciding when to articulate certain notes and deciding how I can get, you know, the music to connect with the people I'm playing for. So I think practicing really slowly, like I have a song Misty, and I'll play it slow first and then I'll speed it up. So I might practice it like this slow. And speed it up. Thanks.
Gorgeous.
Probably should keep that slow. It is a ballad. But yeah, that rule applies to everything for me.
Yeah. And it's so important, even when you receive a little bit of direction, not even criticism, but just direction. You need to work on your timing. You need to work on creating a better melody that, some people would just shy back from that. But instead, the whole goal is that you play better. The whole goal is that you learn from it.
Yeah.
So just shut up for a second and receive what they're telling you and think about it, and try and correct it.
I have this rule. I've played 2,000 concerts. I counted them at one point. And, I meet so many people out there who give me advice and tell me what to do. And, whenever I meet younger musicians who are coming up, I just always say, every great thing that's happened to me in my musical world has been because of a mentor that I've found. And I think it's really important to find great mentors who really have been in the trenches and played, they're really masters. Trust them, but don't trust like the drunk guy at the bar who's going to give you advice.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bitter, resentful, jaded people. And, that's something I've really found to be useful. So when someone like Tommy, says, I think you should, practice more with a metronome, that was exactly what I needed to hear. And it's hard to find people who really know their stuff, but they're out there.
Yeah. And a true mentor is wants you to succeed and is trying to get you better.
Yeah.
And is giving you that little nugget of advice that is going to be helpful.
Yeah, and you can learn so much these days. Like I learned from DVDs and VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And you can learn so much online through like virtual mentors.
Yeah.
So it's easy to be exposed to the great players.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for making these shows available. I've watched you interviewing Rory Hoffman and Jack Pearson and so many great musicians, and you have a way of kind of pulling out the interesting things about what they do. So thank you.
Neil is saying, did you find playing with Robben Ford challenging?
Yeah,
I think I can answer that. Yes.
Robin's a really, laid back, great guy. He loves music so much, so it was really a joy to play with him.
Yeah.
I think the most challenging thing about that tour for me was just standing out sonically with my own sound and my own voice, and really coming through as like, that's Joe.
Yeah.
Because Robin has such an incredible way of making his guitar speak.
Yeah.
And
voice.
I learned so much from being around him. I don't get intimidated very easily, so I wasn't, I wasn't nervous. But yeah, I mean, it's like sparring with Ali, playing with guys like that.
Even when he was here a couple of months ago, it was very obvious that he loved playing.
Oh yeah.
And loved the craft, and very much was a guitar thinker, and he thought about what he was doing and just loved the act of playing.
When I have a little notepad in my phone, and whenever I'd hear him reference an album that he loved, I'd write it down. And I mean, it's like pages of music when we're just hanging out on the bus chatting, and he's talking about, all kinds of great music from John Coltrane and all kinds of people.
And so many things with Robin, when he was talking about that stuff, he didn't learn that in the classroom like most of us would. He learned it on the bandstand, standing next to Miles Davis, trying to say, what are you doing? It's fascinating. Keith Bates is asking, what scales, if any, do you favor?
Well, I love all the scales and modes. I say I practice with the melodic minor a lot. Let the guitar do the talking, feature that a lot. Also the melodic minor. Like the Dorian scale I use a lot. major scale, of course. I have a course called 10 Scales and Modes You Must Know with TrueFire.
TrueFire, yeah.
So you can check that out. Because I just feel like I really wouldn't be able to feel comfortable playing the guitar in front of anybody unless I knew every scale.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's another project that I've heard you talk about recently as well, that you did with interviewing these great guitarists, Robin Ford and some of the others. Tell us about that. And is that officially out now? Is it available, or is it still processing?
It's not out yet. I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be out very, very soon. It's called Joe's 12. You can go to joes12.com and put in your email address, and you'll be one of the first to hear about it. But it's a 12-week course featuring so many of my mentors and heroes, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's really, really an exciting project that I think a lot of people are gonna find super insightful.
Yeah, amazing. All right, we're coming in the home stretch here. See if we can get another question or two. Charles Snyder is saying, can you discuss more about getting more of a bass chord, like a C or D? What techniques do you use to get them to speak? Perhaps he's talking about the bass lines on these different chords.
Well, I interpret that question as just like a simple chord, like a D. How do you get that to speak? Well, for me, get something to speak. To me, that's the touch. And so vibrato. And I'm just playing one note. But that vibrato is so important. Doing a hammer-on like that to a D chord. The James Taylor sound to me.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to get a D chord to speak. Played in different places. Vibrato is a really nice effect.
And also the practicing of the emphasizing different fingers or strings different notes of that chord.
And if I'm playing, like, I'll go back toward the bridge sometimes and mute it more sometimes. I'm going out and playing some shows with Emmylou Harris this year, and she has so many beautiful songs that are in kind of that D, beautiful atmospheric D sound, and so just finding different ways of getting those notes to speak is a really beautiful sound. So hopefully that made sense. I think it's a really a feel thing, and guys who like Raikuda, I love the way he just makes a chord speak like that.
Yeah. Lots of control, lots of hand control to make that happen. All right, we need to land this ship. Let's see, one more. Doug from Toronto, our good moderator, is asking, how do you develop a smoothness and fluidity in your playing instead of sounding choppy?
I think it's really important to have no tension in your hands. So play with as light a touch that you need to get the notes to ring out. And from there, try and have good dynamic control. So like we talked about, with your left hand you can practice doing hammer-ons and pull-offs. With all the different fingers, no tension. And practice really slowly. Soft, loud. I think those things all just help you to have more control. And when you have more control, you can just let the music flow. The longer I've played, the less I feel like I need to think about it. So, and when I watch someone like Earl Klugh play, it's just like, you can tell he's just one with the music, and it's so fluid and it's so smooth, and it's just because he's got his technique to work for him, and he's just, ironed out all the kinks in his playing,
Yeah.
and he can just play the most beautiful combination of notes, and focus on that. I think that's
Yeah.
where the fluidity comes from for me.
I remember we were talking with Russ Barenberg, who's going to be at our summer conference, talking to him about a similar thing, and he, I remember him saying, you need to think about the ends of notes as much as you think about the beginnings of notes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to where your notes are ending and how they're ending. Whether you're buzzing them out, whether you're releasing the tension too quick and it's cutting that note off just a little bit. Pay attention to the ends of your notes. And I always thought, oh, that's a little nugget of wisdom there. Pay attention to the ends of your notes. All right. Let's give another thing away. You want to give, are we giving this one away?
Let's give away an LP.
Wow.
Hopefully this person has an LP player.
I hope so. Man, this is beautiful. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Okay, the winner of this one is Jeffrey Gish. Jeffrey Gish, you have just won a vinyl. Wow. I don't even know if I have a box to fit that in, but we'll figure it out. Hey, Jeff, send me your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we will get this out to you. Yeah, how fun. And check out Joe's this project and other projects that Joe has. Check it out on his website, joerobinson.com. And so many great resources there. You've done work with our good friends over at TrueFire.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good educational stuff over there that Joe has been a part of. Sometimes there's good players, and then there's good people that instruct as well. And not often as you would like are they in the same person. And Joe is one of the few that plays well and explains and teaches well as well. So it's great stuff. Take some time to check it out. Over at TrueFire or at joerobinson.com as well. We're going to try and have another live lesson next week. I'm making a quick trip to San Antonio, so hopefully I'll be back by then. If you are in the San Antonio, Texas area, and would like a lesson while I'm in the area, just shoot me an email at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we'll try and put it together while I'm in the area. I thoroughly enjoyed being in Denver. And boy, just send out a quick email, and I met two of our wonderful online guitar family right there, and we had a great time, just helping them out with whatever they wanted to help on. So anyway, I'm going to be in San Antonio. I'm going to be in Atlanta in a couple of months, but I'm going to be in San Antonio next week. So if you're in the area, let us know. I wanted to thank our wonderful crew tonight, which is, we are training so many wonderful people tonight. We got my son Timothy is producing tonight on chat. We've got Jackson Poole on video. We've got Van Larkins. We've got Johnny Fry on audio as well. Our wonderful unpaid moderators, Doug and Neil. Thank you all so much for everything that you do. I really appreciate all the links that y'all put up and all this sort of stuff. And I especially thank Joe for being here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Stay tuned.
What a treat. What a treat. Can you close this out with a song?
Absolutely.
What is this song you're going to play for us?
I'm going to play a song called Fireflies.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Steve,
Thank you,
cheers.
thank you, thank you. Hey, keep up the great work in your own learning. Playing music's a wonderful thing. You've got something to give that only you can give in your music, so keep up the effort. It's worth it. Hey, we'll see you guys next time.